Hi, Greg. Welcome. Thanks for joining me
Hey,
today.
no
It's very
problem.
nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
having
you.
me.
Yeah, you're
You
welcome.
too, you too.
Mhm. Let's start with a quick intro to kick things off. Can you share a little bit about yourself and tell me about your carnivore journey? How did it all start?
Yeah, no problem, of course. So my name's Greg. I'm 29. I'm from the UK, but currently living in Melbourne, Australia. And I've been following the carnivore diet now for just over a year. Um, and yep, still alive. Don't have scurvy yet. I am still waiting for that. But yeah, so the reason I started carnivore was to heal so I've had eczema my whole life, which turned into a serious flare up in September 2023. So I developed like this all over body rash, and yeah, it was insane. It was the worst sort of like uh, year of my life, because it literally it just kind of stopped me doing a lot of things. And so obviously I went to the doctors, and all they could do was just prescribe me all the pills, the steroids to try and heal it. Which obviously, like, the steroids do suppress the inflammation, and you're kind of back to normal. But then obviously, as like the effects wear off, it just returns. So yeah, I went to multiple doctors. I went to high-end dermatologists. I spent quite a bit of money on it, and yeah, they just could never heal me. Obviously, because that's not their job really. Their job isn't to heal. It's to manage. Because supposedly there is no cure for it. They can't even tell you what the cause of the issue is. Um, so I've had actually just sort of like mild eczema my whole life, before the serious flare up. I've had it on my hands and sort of like the common areas behind my knees, um, creases on my elbows, and yeah, just like your normal areas on my face a bit sometimes, especially in the colder months. Um, but if I'd never actually have had that serious flare up, I probably would have never done carnivore, because I'd have just not really looked into the diet, and I could have just managed like the eczema because it wasn't so serious, if you see what I mean. But because I had this serious flare up, I needed to do something about it, because it was either going on immunosuppressants or giving carnivore a go, and I did not want to do immunosuppressants. I'm not a big fan of medication, to be honest. I know it's got its uses, but I don't really like putting things into my body. Um, so yeah, so I actually came across carnivore because of my uncle. My uncle was doing it. He's in his 50s, and he'd been doing it for about 2 or 3 years. And the first time I heard of it, yeah, it just blew my mind. How can anyone just be eating meat and what else, cheese, eggs, and all that? Or how you get your energy, where your carbs and all and everything like that. Just your normal sort of view that everyone has, because since I've been doing it, that's just what everyone tells me now. They kind of have the same reaction. Um, so actually, I heard about it, and then I didn't give it a go immediately, even though I was actually going through this serious issue, um, because it just sounded too insane to me. I was like, nah, I just put it at the back of my head basically, and then sort of like a year on from that, when I've been doing all the medication and nothing was working, I just thought about it, and I was like, well, what have I got to lose? I'll just give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? And yeah, I gave it a go, and then within sort of I was taking about 4 antihistamines a day, but really strong ones, just to try and keep this condition at bay, because that's what I got recommended by a pharmacist, and that was actually the only thing that did help. But it still wasn't brilliant. I still had it a bit. It was just kind of manageable to just for day-to-day life. But yeah, within 2 weeks of doing carnivore, I stopped taking my antihistamines, and yeah, it was just all gone. Like, and nothing came back, and nothing has come back since. So all my like childhood eczema on my hands, that has never come back since. And honestly, like the first few months, I wasn't going to get my hopes up. I was kind of just thinking, well, it might come back. But yeah, it's been over a year now, and I haven't had anything. Like it's yeah, it's kind of like a miracle. It's because all I sort of having eczema it's really mentally draining for anyone who has it, because you're just kind of constantly having to keep on top of it. Because it was on my hands and sometimes on my face, it makes you really self-conscious. I remember my hands were so bad. I remember I used to just look at other people's hands, and they had like these nice skin. There was no issues with it. And I'd be so jealous. I'd be like, well, why isn't that me? Well, what is wrong with me? So yeah, it's a pretty good feeling to like be one of those people now. Um, yeah, I just really, I just feel bad for everyone who kind of, well, suffers with any sort of issue, no, not just skin issues. But I really wish someone had come to me, like whenever it started happening. But I think I had it from a really young age, probably 6 or 7, really. So I wish someone had come to me at that age and said, you need to cut out all the things humans aren't designed to eat, and yeah, and just eat the things your body's made to. And that would have made my first, you know, 20 years of my life better. Not that they were that bad, but it would have improved it quite a bit. But yeah, my uncle, he did an interview with Dave Mack. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, you know, he swears by it. He says, because he started it in his 50s, and because he was starting to get some issues, just because getting older. But he said all those issues are now gone. He feels like he's the fittest he's ever been. He looks like really good, for to be in your 50s. Not that that's that old, but yeah, he looks really good, very healthy. And yeah, I'm just so fortunate that he was doing it, and that I heard about it, because I don't think otherwise I'd have ever have heard of it. It's not really something you come across. I mean, I come across it all the time now because of the algorithms, but I don't know if I would have before. And yeah, if I had before, I might not have taken it as seriously, because it's sort of like, it's what do you trust online, really? It's okay when you hear it from someone you know and you trust, but just seeing it online does make you question. Um, but yeah, no, that's kind of my story. I mean, there's obviously like a lot more. Like, I don't know if you're.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I feel like your story is, very valuable, like especially for, like you mentioned, like people like me also have gone to, with the skin issues. And I think your story is probably gonna help, way more people, like when they listen to it. And also credit to your
Mm,
uncle. So um
yeah,
so your uncle,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, your uncle's been doing it for how many years now? I think you mentioned it earlier, 2 to 3 years, right?
Uh, but I think well, that was probably a year ago. I think he's been doing it about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah, about 4 or 5 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Don't you feel like
Yeah.
frustrated when, part of your story, I think earlier, you mentioned that doctors couldn't tell you what was wrong with your skin, and then, but they can only give you the medicine. Like, doesn't that sound like frustrating? Like, I've been there also, like, all they give is just medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's extremely frustrating, to be honest. And since so when I kind of like dive into something, like I really go full on. So with like Carnivore, I spent basically the whole of last year just listening to podcasts, reading books about it, watching YouTube videos. I was honestly, it was a bit too much. I was consuming a bit too much content, and it didn't have too much of a positive effect, because it does get to you. Um, but yeah, no, I've learned a huge amount about it, and yeah, it makes you seriously angry at the system. Um, yeah, to know that I spent all those years suffering when there was just such an easy solution. Like, it's really quite stupid, isn't it? Because all we're doing is just going back to basics. For such a smart species, I don't know why we have to overcomplicate everything. I mean, I do know why, because of money. That's all it is. It's just money. Um, but yeah, just to know that I could have done without all that lifelong suffering, um, just by changing my diet. And it's also, yeah, there is so much frustration. There's also, there's not, I wouldn't say frustration to like my parents. My parents fed me uh, what would be considered a very healthy diet, sort of. So, we always had a lot of meat. I actually grew up in France, so I had like we ate a lot of meat, cheese, a lot of veg and all that. So it was actually a very healthy sort of diet in like what would be considered healthy, sorry. Um, yeah, so I was doing all the right things. I used to eat an insane amount of fruit as well. I used to eat probably 3 to 5 pieces of fruit a day. Um, and everyone always used to say, "Oh, you're so healthy for doing that." And I used to think, "Yeah, that is really healthy, isn't it?" And obviously now I'm like, that was the stupidest thing you could do. Like eating that much fruit is that's probably what sort of contributed as well to the big flare up and all that. Um, but yeah, so I know the new dietary guidelines have come out, and that's a really positive step in the right direction. Um, so that is good. And yeah, there's a lot of frustration, but all we can do is sort of just spread the message, get the word out there. It's going to take a while, and the people who listen are only going to be the ones who need help, who've got an issue and they just really want it resolving. Whereas the people who have issues, but can tolerate it and manage it, like my eczema, you're probably not going to give it a second look because you're sacrificing all these addictive foods, and yeah, it's not like the easiest way to live as well, sort of like socially. Um, you are sort of yeah, you're seen as a bit of a like I don't know, some people are very sort of like accommodating and like, oh, that's interesting. Like, tell me more. Others are just like, that's really weird. Why are you doing that? Um, but yeah, no. Like, back to your question about the frustration against like the medical system and everything. Yeah, a huge amount of frustration, and I really hope that things start changing because of the new dietary guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree to what you said. You know, before carnivore, so with your eczema, lifelong disease, like, did you have like maybe assumption what was causing it before you even found carnivore? Like with me, I used to think like it's probably just stress, work related, or just like maybe I'm just being depressed, and then it contributes to it. Did you have any assumption what was causing it before?
Um, yeah, I think like you, stress. It was stress. It was never diet. Like not once in my life did anyone, um, like not my parents or any medical profession ever say a thing about diet. Um, yeah, it was always put down to stress, and also the cold. So like during the winter months, it would flare up a lot worse than during the warmer months. And the sun, when we lived in the south of France, and obviously in the summer you get a lot of sunshine, so that would help. And then the winters were very cold and snowy, and that would make it a lot worse. So yeah, like stress and then weather would have been factors, but yeah, never diet. Diet wasn't mentioned once. And actually, so when I had the serious skin flare up, I went to this top end dermatologist, supposedly one of the best in the UK. People fly from all over the world to see him. That's what it says on his website. Whatever, I don't know if it's true. Um, but yeah, I actually emailed him. I think it was about 6 months later, uh, when I was doing carnivore, and I told him, look, changing my diet healed it. Um, and he came and I said to him, why did you never say anything about diet? And then he sent me an email back saying we did discuss diet, and that was just a blatant lie. I was like, no, we did not. We didn't speak about diet once. So I thought that was just awful. Just yeah, just an absolute lie from him. I did actually get some money back from him, and which was good. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you need your money back. um, so before
yeah,
carnivore,
yeah, yeah. Of course.
did before carnivore did like a motivation felt like you had to push it for yourself, like before I found carnivore, I was really unmotivated because my skin looks bad. I feel like Cinderella in a way because I would put
Hmm.
this steroid creams, and then it would go back to the red itchy spots like after a couple of days, and then you're gonna feel depressed again. It was like something like motivation for you. Like, did you felt like you had to push yourself or just like force it?
What's that to do carnivore? Do you mean?
Like meaning with before carnivore, like uh did you have like any motivation to like improve, like now that you have carnivore, so like your motivation is pretty much just to stay healthy, not because you have a better skin. But before carnivore, did you have like a motivation in general?
Yeah, like I've always been very health conscious, like very health conscious. So I'd always just abided by everything you're sort of told to do. So eat all your veggies, all your fruit. I'll do all that. In fact, I'll take it a bit. I was also taking a lot of sort of like vitamins and all that. I was probably taking about 7 to 8 vitamins a day at one stage in my early 20s, which the more I think about it, the crazier it sounds to be doing that. Um, but yeah, I've always been very active as well my whole life. I've never suffered with weight issues, fortunately, because I've always been so active and eating clean in the sense. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I've always been very motivated to be healthy, I guess, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, in a way. I guess I was trying to get into because having eczema or other skin issues like psoriasis, rosacea, you feel kind of depressed sometimes. Like, I guess some people doesn't want to live life anymore because they have those skin issues, or just like I've given up pretty much. I said I'm not gonna heal. I'm just gonna be dependent on medicine. So, but I'm still gonna
Right.
keep on going with life, right? So, but then, several years later, I found carnivore. Now
Yeah.
I'm pretty much like motivated to go on with my life now. um, but when you were experimenting or
Right. I
researching
see what
with,
you mean now.
yeah, um, when you were experimenting with carnivore, you were researching it. When you applied it to your diet, did you remove carbs right away, or did you remove vegetables first? Did you do like some kind of elimination? Which one should go away first?
Yeah. I kind of I sort of phased it in. So it's a bit confusing actually because I actually started carnivore when I moved to Australia. So I moved last in November 2024. So um, because actually at the time they're about to put me on immunosuppressants for my skin, and I was actually going to go ahead with it, but then moving to Australia complicated everything. Um, just for how to get like my prescriptions when I moved out here, and also you can't take that medication and be out in the sun. And we were coming to Australia at the peak of summer, so yeah, obviously it wasn't going to work. So, and that was when I thought, okay, I'm going to give carnivore a go then. So I moved out here, and then we did a bit of traveling first. And during that time, I hadn't gone fully carnivore, but I had definitely reduced the amount of carbs. So I was more going into keto. So I was eating a lot of just steak and eggs, but I was also sort of still having the odd carbohydrate, and like the odd sort of like sweet dessert and all that sort of thing. So that was for about 2 months maybe. So I did kind of phase it out, and then after that, I just went all in. I just cut out all the carbs. Was just eating sort of red meat and eggs, basically. Um, and then yeah, it was there was an adaptation phase, I have to say, especially with sort of my running, um, just becoming fat adaptive. You know, I didn't really have that much energy at the start, but I never gave up. I never went, oh, this isn't working. I'll go back to normal. Yeah, I just had, you just push through it. And yeah, I'm really glad I did because I'm where I am now because of it. And I feel like a lot of people probably sort of a lot of them struggle to get through the adaptation phase and just think, oh, it's not for me. Because I have heard people say, oh, it just didn't work for me. And then you're like, how long were you doing it for? And if they say like a couple of weeks, that's really not enough. To be honest, I feel like I really started feeling the benefits maybe after 6 months, 6 months plus. It takes a seriously long time. But yeah, during that adaptation phase, I felt pretty bad, to be honest. Your body's just getting used to all this fat, and also mentally, I felt very down as well at the start. So like the first 2 or 3 weeks, God, I had this serious depression. It wasn't nice. It was like it was obviously just withdrawal from carbs. But yeah, it wasn't nice. But yeah, to answer your question, I kind of phased into carnivore. I didn't just do cold turkey.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Wow. I guess that's part of the oxalate dumping experience. And you're right. I agree about you're gonna need more than weeks to like really feel the
Yeah.
difference with carnivore. Um, wow. Uh, what was your
Yeah.
favorite food before you went
Yeah.
carnivore?
Absolutely. Favorite food before? You know what? I've always loved meat. Meat has always been sort of my favorite part of any dish. But obviously, I like pizza and burgers and all that stuff. But honestly, I think steak has always been my favorite food, and to now just be eating it daily, yeah, it's a dream. So I, I I do understand where a lot of people come from there when they say, "Oh, I can do this. I couldn't do it. I can just eat meat all the time." But for someone who just enjoys it so much, it's the best diet for me. And there's also a reason why we enjoy it so much because it's your body telling you this is what it wants.
Yeah, I fully agree on that. And yeah, I mean, pizza was, it's up there on the top, along with the pastas and other fried foods for me as well. So, but now like pretty much the cravings
Yeah,
have gone away.
yeah.
Um, so looking back at the start of your journey, were there any like
Oh
mistakes
gosh,
you
yeah.
made doing carnivore? And then I think you already mentioned maybe you didn't have any doubt, but if you ever had a moment of doubt, like something was not working, something was not clicking, and then you said, "But I'm gonna keep on going. That I'm gonna see the result. I'm gonna see the end of this experiment."
Um, yeah. So no, I feel like I did quite well to be honest at the start. The only thing that I would sometimes do would be eat too much fat, when my body just wasn't quite ready to handle that much, and then that would give you some serious stomach upsets. Um, but yeah, I never get that anymore, fortunately. Um, but no, in terms of if like there's anything I would have changed, not really. I feel like I did it quite well. Um, I was sort of I only sort of eat like 2, 3 meals a day maybe. Um, and yeah, that's kind of what I was doing at the start, just 2 meals. Um, and yeah, I was always cooking in butter, ghee, tallow. Um, I guess the only thing I might have done differently from the start was I used to buy a lot of supermarket meat, and now yeah, I'm not a fan of supermarket meat, so I only get it from butchers and who've got a good reputation and tell you that it's all pasture raised and that sort of thing. Um, but no, yeah, no, I feel like yeah, no. Fortunately, I never really had any doubts because I could see what it was doing for me, and yeah, just not having a skin issue that honestly made you want to kill yourself. Yeah, I never doubted it. I was like, yeah, well, this is it. Well, I wouldn't say I didn't doubt it, but like I said at the start, I didn't want to get my hopes up because it might have come back after 6 months, but no, it hasn't. And now I know it won't either because obviously, I've got a better understanding. Yeah, I'm not going to get that anymore eating a proper human diet.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. If you don't have any doubts about it, that's even better because you don't have to worry about it. But I think like for me, like I had initial doubts in the beginning, like I'm gonna have a heart attack, like most people who are beginning. But that's gone now. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been more than a year.
yeah.
What does a typical day of eating for you look
Oh,
like now?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
do you keep it pretty consistent, or do you switch things up?
Um, um, for sort of like my first meal of the day, it's usually mince and eggs. And then sort of like for dinner, it's either ribeye or like ribeye and eggs again. But I can't eat ribeye every day because it's quite expensive. So it might just be like a cheaper cut of meat. I eat a lot of brisket. I eat a bit of lamb as well. Um, the odd bit of pork as well. A bit of pork and chicken, but not too often. Um, but no, yeah, it's all pretty much the same to be honest. Just a lot of eggs, and yeah, a lot of red meat. Because of sort of my training, like I go to the gym a lot and I do like ultra running as well. I'm trying to sort of eat maybe 3 times a day, even though I don't really need it. I know like I could get away with 2 times a day, but I just kind of want to, just help my muscles recover more, grow a bit more, get a bit bigger. So yeah, that's the only reason I eat 3 times a day. But honestly, like with this diet, you could get away with just eating once a day. I could probably just eat once a day, really, just one big meal. But yeah, I guess it's just preference what you want to do.
That's pretty awesome. The also you're doing ultra marathon. The how's carnivore like? Is it like helping you? You doing this diet like is it giving you a lot of energy? Because I know most runners like they feed on sugar and carbs. They say you can't run without carbs and all these, but I feel like it's rare seeing a carnivore who's doing a ultra marathon, right? Is that like helping you with your performance pretty much?
Yeah, yeah. There's not many of us. So yeah, prior to doing carnivore, I was doing what everyone else was doing, the carb loading, all the sugary gels, the drinks, and all that, just to try and give yourself energy. Um, but since going carnivore, oh man, it's yeah, it's life changing. Being fat adapted, you can go on forever. Um, you never suffer the dips. Like, so I actually did a bit of an experiment last year. I only got into ultra running last year, but I ran my first 100K last October. But so I didn't eat 24 hours before running it, and then I didn't eat during it, and I only ate once I'd finished it, just to see, like, I didn't suffer with like I didn't hit the wall basically, because that's a very common thing for marathon runners. Uh, and that didn't happen to me. I had plenty of energy throughout the whole race. Obviously, running 100K is quite difficult anyway, let alone starving yourself. But no, I didn't feel I didn't feel any different whether I had eaten before. It's incredible. Like I come home from work, I might have just eaten sort of at 8 a.m. In that day, and then I'd get home from working all day, come home, I'd smash out a gym session, and then go for like a 10K run, all with so much energy, just never any dips. And also, I never seem to lose motivation as well. It never seems like a chore, whereas before, sort exercise seemed like a chore. It just seemed, yeah, it seemed like a lot of effort. Whereas now it's all just so effortless. Um, yeah, I don't have to. Um, yeah, no, it's incredible, and I'm lucky to be honest um, to have found this way because all the people who are just ramming down all these gels and carbs down their throat, they're gonna pay the consequences. Like they're gonna suffer later in life, and it because also it's very new, this sort of this era of sort of carbo loading, all the gels. Like how long have these gels and sports drinks been around? They've only been around the last, what is it, 20 years maybe. So we have no idea what they're doing to us. Uh,
Yeah, I really agree with that. Yeah, it's still new. It's still fairly new, and yeah, I feel like their body's gonna pay for it too. And I agree. Also, you mentioned earlier, like you're not bounded by uh, things like cooking. Making different types of food, all sugar foods, and then now everything is pretty much very
hmm.
simplified. Yeah. What is the hardest thing about being carnivore? Like for you, like for example, for me, it's been the social gatherings with family and friends, travel, and also the cravings in the beginning, but it went away. But for you, what is the hardest thing about being carnivore?
Um, yeah, like you said, the hardest thing it's probably the social aspect really. Um, like you said, the cooking is so easy. You always know what you need to buy. I don't have to keep thinking about what recipe I'm going to cook that night or what am I going to meal prep this week because you always want to have sort of variation. Whereas this diet, there's not a huge amount of variation. It's pretty simple. It's always, well, for me, it's always just meat and eggs. Um, but yeah, the hardest part is probably the social side of things. Because humans, no one likes to feel like an outsider. Everyone just wants to be accepted. So yeah, when you're in a scenario where you're not eating the same as everyone, it makes everyone's being normal, and you're there sort of doing your own thing. But yeah, fortunately, most people are just sort of curious and want to understand. I spent it with my cousin. She lives in Melbourne as well. She's English but lives in Melbourne, and she had there was a lot of her husband's family over, and so many of them were just so curious about what I was doing, and yeah, I got talking to a lot of them about it, and I'm pretty clued up, so I kind of know what I'm talking about to not sound too crazy, if you know what I mean. Um, but yeah, the majority of people are curious. Obviously, some people just think you're crazy, and why deprive yourself of pastries and everything? How can you enjoy life without sugar? But yeah, because to be honest, I had quite a few sweet treats during the week. Like I said, I used to eat so much fruit, um, and yeah, it's a nice feeling to just get away from that, just get away from that addiction.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the a challenge for us carnivore. Like I guess translating this, I mean, I guess the knowledge that what we know about nutrition and meat is really the nutritious side. But if you had to describe the impact of carnivore in
Mm.
your life, what one word would you describe it and why?
Um, um, what would be the word I'd use? Um, uh, I want to say life-saving, but that's two words, isn't it? Or life-changing, but that's two words. Um, um, what would I say? Yeah, well, I'm going to go with life-changing. I know that's two words, but yeah, it's just or a savior. I'd actually no, I'd say savior. It saved my life because to be honest, you're in your late 20s and you're told the thing will sort you out is medication and sort of like immunosuppressants. And I was thinking to myself, well, all that's going to do is just suppress my immune system, and that's probably going to make me even worse off. So how is that? How is that solving my issue? That's not solving my issue. I'm going to live my whole life on this medication. And I was in a bad way. I was seriously depressed, and yeah, like I had thoughts of what is the point of bringing on? Like, I can't just live my whole life on medication and not be able to run because obviously running's a huge thing for me. I couldn't really do that with my skin issue. So yeah, carnivore, it's just, or yeah, it's honestly, yeah, it saved me, and that's sort of what you hear a lot of people say. It saves them, but it is very impressive how what what other humans have done. So like what other companies have done to convince the masses that doing this is stupid and dangerous. Yeah, it actually is. It is very impressive. It's impressive, but obviously very very sad that they've done this. Fortunately, I feel like it is sort of coming to an end. There's a shift to whole foods now, like a massive shift away from sort of, processed foods, shifting to whole foods. But again, whole foods, you've still got your like obviously your vegetables and fruits, and it's better than processed foods, but it's still not. That's still not optimal. They still be leaning more towards sort of like low carb slash carnivore really in the future. Probably quite a few years though, probably 20 plus years maybe.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on this. I feel like I feel like misled too. Like my whole life pretty much like thinking, once you found carnivore was like everything I know about food was just wrong. I feel like you have to
Yeah,
restart
yeah,
everything. Okay, so that was misleading, and then now we're stuck with this. What do we do with this? And then do we help other people like open their eyes? I don't know. I'm still kind of stuck like what to do with that, and I think I'm sure like many carnivore as well. Yeah. Um, if you can give like a piece of advice to someone maybe just starting carnivore
yeah,
who has like skin issues like similar to ours like eczema or psoriasis, but they're very skeptical about they don't want to have a heart attack or what they hear from the media you'll get some kind of heart disease if you continue this way of living. What would you tell them?
yeah, right. Um, so the first bit of advice would be give it time. Don't expect it just to heal you in, like a day or two. You got to give it a few months really. Fortunately for me, it kind of did heal quite quickly. Um, but yeah, give it time. Start with, and then obviously, yeah, you've really got to sort of like educate yourself and listen to people. So yeah, I listen to Anthony Chafee's probably been the biggest one for me. I just binged every single one of his podcasts. Um, and then also I've read some books. The book by Weston A. Price, the dentist who cultures and sort of studied what they were eating and whether they had cavities and that sort of thing. I don't know if you've ever read it. I think it's uh, is it nutrition and physical degeneration? generation, something like that. Again, that sort of helps just to convince me that this is the proper way we should be eating. Um, yeah, there's sort of there's that new animal movie out now on Prime. That's a good watch. I've watched to undo all the lies that you've been told just by educating yourself. And whatever you do, don't go looking at any sort of like World Health Organization advice or anything like that. That you want to stay away from any sort of world thing, anything that's trying to sell you something, or I don't know, telling you the opposite. Because honestly, if you go on Google and because I've done it, you type in are vegetables better for you than meat? The first few pages tells you yes, vegetables are better than meat because meat causes everything. Meat causes cancer and all that nonsense. But yeah, just you really got to choose the right people to listen to online. Bart K is another one that he knows his stuff. I trust that guy with my life. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. But yeah, just yeah, so don't expect results to happen, in a day or two. Give it time, and also listen to the correct people.
Yeah, that's really a great advice. Wow. Yeah, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Bart K. Um,
Hmm.
wow. Um, have you gone back to any of the, I guess, the doctor or the medical professional, dermatologist, maybe gave them some feedback about, your skin clearing up through carnivore? Yeah, have you gone back like to any of them?
Well, the only thing I did was so I moved to Australia, so I was away from sort of the GPs that I was seeing, the doctors I was seeing, and yeah, the only thing I did was send that email to the dermatologist to say, look, uh, diet had sorted it, diet sorted it for me. And then he did actually, yeah, so he told me, oh, we did talk about it. And I was like, no, we didn't. And then he sent another email saying, oh, I'm really pleased for you that it helped you. And then he said something about, unfortunately, not everyone can do it. And yeah, just more nonsense. Just, yeah. But no, like, I've seen a few doctors in my life, and I wish I could go to them now and tell them what sorts it. But again, the answer is always the same. Oh, just because it worked for you, it doesn't mean it's going to work for someone else. And it's just so dumb. Of course, it's going to work for someone else. We're the same species. Yeah, like we've all got the same digestive system. Yeah, that's the frustrating part when people say that just because it works for you, it might not work for someone else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have the same perspective. I agree with that because I feel like they're just gonna brush it off. So I
Yeah,
didn't even bother like sending them emails. But now that you mention it, I'll probably do the same thing, even though it's been a couple of years. But I think I'll just send an email just in case, so to get some sort of feedback. Yeah. So
yeah,
thank you for that.
yeah.
Uh, some some future outlook questions. How do you see carnivore in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see it in a good light or in a bad light? Meaning, bad light would be there's going to be censorship for it. There's going to be meat prices going high. We're going to get a lot of pushback from medical experts on the media. And then positive would be in the community because they're seeing a lot of healing. So they want to know more. They want to hear more. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, obviously all the big organizations, this isn't profitable for them, is it really? I don't believe there's a huge amount of profit in sort of meat and um, sort of like whole foods. I mean, for vegetables and fruit, I know there's huge profit margin, but for sort of meat and eggs and that, I don't believe there's a huge profit margin. I don't know, I might be wrong. So yeah, they just want to sell the things that create the most profit. So yeah, now we're shifting away from sort of seed oils um, and processed foods. Um, yeah, I am a bit worried about what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, because I actually saw a post yesterday. Apparently, the Netherlands have banned any sort of meat advertising, because obviously they're saying it's causing global warming and all that sort of nonsense. So I don't really know what's going to happen in the future, to be honest. Um, I, but I feel like the more that it catches on, um, the more like popular it becomes, they're just going to shift towards that and try and make money that way. Because obviously, if there's no money in sort of like carbs anymore, I mean, we're talking a long way down the line. Then yeah, they're just gonna focus on what people are eating. We all need to eat, so yeah, like they'll shift like that. Um, but yeah, like I've heard also a lot about how they're trying to put alpha gal syndrome into ticks, or so the syndrome that causes meat allergies. I've heard that as well. You read a lot online. I don't know how true it is or not. Um, and that they were, yeah, trying to engineer that, and then they're going to try and spread that around. But I don't know how true it is. Um, but yeah, no, like, but for a positive, I just hope more people adopt it. Because I see sort of my family, some of them have sort of health issues, and I know that Carnivore would help them, but they need to hear it from, an official sort of guide, like from a doctor or something. They don't need to hear it from me, someone who hasn't got any sort of like nutrition or medical qualifications. So, but like I said earlier about the dietary guidelines changing, that is obviously a huge step in the right direction. Um, but yeah, no, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm never going back to um, eating what they tell us to eat. Not in a million years. The only reason I'll be going back to eat like that is if they did completely cut the meat supply, um, which I hope they don't do. Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Um, but yeah, no, and I'm just gonna try and remain like an example of of why you should be eating. I'm in my late. I'm 30 this year, and a lot of people say to me, "Oh, you look early 20s," and yeah, I feel like I'm in like I'm a very sort of like healthy looking person. So if people can see that and then they're curious, and I tell them, "Oh, I just eat meat," that's the secret. Um, then yeah, it would just open people's eyes.
Yeah, yeah, I fully agree. You have a great outlook. I mean, I feel like it's very realistic because I feel the same way because I'm also scared because I don't know what to really expect. What's going to happen? Is it going to be a mix of both, or just going to be good or bad? But I think I agree
Mm,
also with what you mentioned about like if you have a close family or close relative and they have some health issue and you know that carnivore can fix it, but you can't really do anything. You can't like push them to try it. But I guess that's also a source of frustration for us. Um, you know,
mm.
I really enjoyed like listening to your perspective, Greg. If people want to reach out or follow you, where's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, I've got an Instagram account. It's Zero Carb Runner, which I haven't. I started it last year, end of last year, and I haven't really posted much on it, but I'm going to try and start posting more. I've also got a YouTube account, Zero Carb Runner One. Again, I don't post a huge amount. I'm not really into it, but I do sort of want to be part of the growing number of people talking about it and to help because I feel like I'm in quite a niche as well, being an ultra runner. Yeah, ultra running carnivore. There's not many of us, and also sort of being younger as well because a lot of the carnivore community are, sort of older people, so like 40, 50 plus. because when you're young, your body can deal with everything usually. Um, so yeah, there's not a huge amount of sort of youngish sort of carnivores, but that is actually growing, which is good. But yeah, I'll try and post more, but yeah, I'll see if I can be bothered to do it because it's a lot of effort.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. And also that's excellent. I'm gonna make sure to post
Yeah,
them in the description. So for people who wants to reach you. Greg, thank you again for joining me today. I
yeah,
really
yeah.
enjoyed hearing your story and learning about your whole carnivore journey. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, no problem. All good. Thank you very much for having me.